Hello! In this video today, I'm going to give you a demonstration of a VLOOKUP in Microsoft Excel. First of all, at this stage, I would recommend that you view the video in full screen and increase the quality if you can as shown. In the video today, I'm going to do the demonstration in Microsoft Excel 2013. The formula and the process could easily be replicated in earlier versions of Excel such as 2007 and 2010. The scenario I'm going to follow today is we have two examples. So we have an employee list, which I'll show you now, and this is an HR department list, let's say, of 100 employees that they have in their organisation with various data that they may have. Separate from this, the benefits department have a list of employees who have company cars, and the HR department would like to add the data of which employees have company cars and some of the data on the company cars to this list. So that's the example we're going to follow through today. The steps we're going to follow to do this are shown here on the screen. Three key steps. The first thing we're going to do is consolidate the data. So we're going to take the two worksheets within the two books and put them into the same workbook. It makes the formulas cleaner. It does everything within a single instance of Excel, and I find personally it makes the process easier to manage. The second part of this process is we're going to prepare a lookup table, and I've put some text here that describes what we're going to do. We need to find some commonality between the two tables. We're going to prepare the table. We're going to look at the format of it and the ordering. We're going to give it a name. And the kind of third step of the process is we're going to create the formula to pull the values across into the new table. We're going to check it worked okay. I can give you a demonstration of how you can autofill to save time, and how to tidy up where there have been failed matches. And we can also talk about pasting the values if you don't have to keep the data automatically updating. So the data that I've given you here, so that the key steps screen that I just showed you, along with the two Excel files that I've got as a demonstration as they are at the moment, are available to download from the video description if you would like to replicate this process or refer to the PDF for some supporting notes to refresh yourself on how to do this. What I'm going to start with is the employee list, because what we want to do is add the data of the company cars to this. So with the employee list open, I'm going to now open the company car list that we've received from the benefits team. And what I'm going to do is just copy that data. So we've got 58 employees here with company cars, and this is the data. So I'm simply going to copy that table of data, and then in the employee list, I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm simply going to paste those values in there. What I can now do is close down the company car list because that's no longer required. Now what we have to do is find something between these two lists that they have in common. So for the employee here, we need to find something on this that's on the second list that matches both of them. And the first one that I can stick out, that stands out to me just now, is the email address, because both lists have the email address of the employee on that. In practice, we would like to assume that in organisations that an employee ID tends to be the most common one there, but unless the organisation you're in has systems with consistent IDs, then that might not be the case. So the consistent thing we've got between the two of them is the email address. So what we can do is we can say if this email address is on this list, then pull across some of the other data. In order to do that, we need to prepare the lookup table, and this is going to be the lookup table. To pull the data across, the first column within the lookup table has to be what we're using to look up, which is the email address. So what I'm going to do is simply cut the email address and make it the first column in the list. Going forward in the lookup table, this is now known as column 1. That's more important when we come to doing a lookup formula, which I'll explain when we come along to do it. But in our lookup table, this is column 1, this is column 2, 3, 4, and 5. What I'm going to do now is name the range. So this is the table of 58 people with company cars. We're going to give that a name. To do that, simply click anywhere within the table of data and then hold Control on your keyboard and press A to select all. Or, if you'd manually like to do it, you can select the whole table like that. And then in the top left hand corner of Excel, you can see it's called the name box. I'm going to click in there and we're going to call this company cars. And then it's important here to press return or enter on the keyboard, and that will then save that. And if you don't know about named ranges, basically in Excel we've kind of given that a name so that in any time we want to use those cells, we don't have to know them as cell A1 through to E, 100 and whatever it was. What we can actually do now is, regardless of where we are in the workbook, we can select company cars and it's there. And if ever we want to reference that, we press F3 key in the keyboard and we pick company cars, and it, you can reference it that way, which we're going to do in a lookup formula as we show you that. So in our company cars, the first column, column 1, is email address. We then have the employee ID, the employee name, we have the age of the car and the manufacturer of the car. Now, it's actually these kind of last two columns I'm going to pull across into here. So what I'm going to do is put in car manufacturer and car age. So these are the two columns of data that I want to add to my table of employees. Okay, and we're going to use the email address to get that in there. So the car manufacturer is column 5 and the car age is column 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to put the lookup formula in. And I'm going to show you how to do this the old way, which I find less confusing. What you find is doing things the old way in Excel doesn't change as Excel gets newer, so that the process that I go through today to put the lookup formula in hasn't changed in Excel for some time. So I don't have to worry that when Excel 2016 comes out that this formula will still work. So we're going to key in a formula. Car manufacturer is the first thing we're going to put in there. So a formula, as always, starts with equals, and the function is VLOOKUP. And then we're going to open a bracket. And what you can see is it's giving us some help text here. And the first thing it's asking us for is a lookup value. And the lookup value is going to be the email address. Then I'm going to press a comma, and it's asking us for the table array. And that's the table of data that we want to look the data up from. And what I'm going to do is simply press F3 on the keyboard, as we mentioned earlier, and I'm going to select company cars. I'm going to press comma again and move on to the next one, and this is the column that we want to return. So it's going to take that email address for that person there. It's going to look at the data, and then if there's a match, it's going to return back the column. Now we are looking up for car manufacturer, which is column 5. I'm going to put a comma in, and then we're going to put in true or false. Now if we put in true, it will bring back an approximate match, or false will bring back an exact match. And I'm going to use false. I tend to always use false because in most of the examples that I do, we're looking for an exact match. Now I'm going to press return, and then we can see the result is Volkswagen. Now we can test that first of all. The formula's in, it's pulled back the manufacturer, but what we can do is click on the email address and copy it, go to the sheet of data, and then whatever way you tend to do this, you can use the kind of find and select up here, or you can simply press Control and F on your keyboard. And what I'm going to do is paste in the email address and then find, or press return. And when we can test and say, okay, that email address is there, and column 5 is Volkswagen. So we're certain that that's pulled through the correct value. What I'm going to do now is, now you can drag it down like that and let go, or you can simply double click on the bottom right hand corner and that will autofill the data all the way down. Now you can see the second example in this list, the lookup has failed, it's saying not applicable. Now, the reason it's doing that is because it hasn't found a match of the email address. If the email address matched and there was no data in the car manufacturer, it would simply say 0. But let's just test this ourselves. We're going to copy the email address, go to the sheet, find, paste in the email address, press find next. And then you can see there, we couldn't find what you're looking for, so we did a search for the email address within the company car data and there was no result. So we know that the lookup is working in that case, in both of those cases, so we can be fairly comfortable that it's working okay all the way down there. Now, something that annoys me personally is when people I work with would do a lookup in this kind of fashion that we've did here just now. And what's good is it is giving us the data that we're looking for there. What for me is frustrating is these NAs because they're very untidy. What we can now do is change the formula a little bit to bring back or to take away the NAs using if error. Now to do this we're going to actually add a little bit in here. So we're going to put the VLOOKUP formula inside another formula, and I'll give an example of how we do that. So between the equals and the V, we're going to put in equals if error, just like that there. Open a bracket, and then go to the end of the VLOOKUP function that we've did and put a comma in. Now what we're saying is if an error happens when that formula, that lookup takes place, we've put a comma in, and what do we want to happen if there's an error? Now in this case we might want to type in quotation marks because we want to return a text value. We might type in no company car, close the quotation marks and close the bracket, and that's looking pretty good. Now if I press return, for this first one here, it hasn't made a change because there wasn't an error. This guy's got a company car, it's brought back the value we expected. So if I just double click on that to autofill it down, you can see there that rather than now getting an error message, where people don't have a match and it returns an error, instead of getting an error, it's telling me that they don't have a company car, which is a little bit neater for me. My personal preference, however, is that rather than putting in text there, just put in 2 quotation marks next to each other, which will return simply no value. So as you can see, my preference here is now we can see that if somebody does have the manufacturer next to them, then they have a company car, and if they don't have a company car, then it's simply blank, which is how I prefer to do that. So if I walk through that kind of process again for the car age, which was column 4, I'm going to do the same again. So equals VLOOKUP. Again, email address is the what's unique between the two of them, or sorry, consistent between the two of them. Comma, F3 to select the table of data. And I'm going to pick company cars. Okay. I'm going to do a comma. And then the column we want to return is column 4 this time. And then we're going to put in comma false because we want an exact match. Close the bracket. And it's bringing through the age. Now, this time, before I autofill it down, I'll just put in the if error. So this time, and we can put spaces in here, as we construct this, we can put in if error. It doesn't have to be in capital letters, but it's good practice to do that. If error, open the bracket, and you can see I'm putting spaces in to kind of emphasize how this is structured. A comma, and then we're going to put in the quotation marks, and I'm just going to put in 2 quotation marks together because I want to return no value, and then a comma. So we're saying if there's an error when it runs this formula, which is VLOOKUP, then it returns a blank space. Now I now need to take these spaces away and tidy that up. And this time I'm going to autofill it down now. And you can see there that it's now returned the data across. And I'm pretty happy with that. That in essence is how you do a successful lookup. Now, the lookup in its current state just now, if we click on one of these values, like if I click on this one here, you can see that the formula is still there. Now what that means is that is still looking up the data, And if we change the data on the source, then it's going to update here. So let's take the first one at the top of the list for ease. And we want to say that this person's car is there. So I'm going to take his email address and we'll go and find his record on this list here. Now you can see at the top of this list his car is a 3-year-old Volkswagen. Let's then say that that changes and we get a new update from the benefits team, and he now has a brand new BMW. So we've received new data from the benefits team, his email address, and he's got a new BMW. Now because in the last sheet we left the formula in place, you can see that it has dynamically updated the data with the changes from the other sheet. And that works very well if that's the kind of fashion you want to use it in. If you're looking to put the data in there and you want to snap it and freeze it so that it can then be changed later on, then what I recommend doing is copying the values of the cell. So I'm just going to take the full row here and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste those as values. Now how this looks over here might differ depending on the version of Excel you're using. So in 2013, 2007 for example, I know there's a difference, but in essence we're looking to paste values. So I'm going to go to paste the bottom half here, and I'm going to select the option to paste values, and that's done. So now if we click on this one here, you can see that it's pasted as the text, but in the next column along we still have the formula in place. So if we took that same person and changed his car to 2 years old, and let's change it to a Ford, you can see now that the 2 is updated but the manufacturer hasn't, because we pasted those values as static. Go back and undo that change, and that's updated again. So you might want to do the same here, is copy the row, paste as values, and now what you find is that if anything changes in any of this data here, it won't have any impact on the data you have on your master sheet. In actual fact, because you've pasted the values in, what you can now do is delete that sheet altogether. So the data from the benefits team we're no longer interested in. We can now right click, delete that sheet, and we have the data added into that from their sheet onto ours. That is how to do a VLOOKUP in Microsoft Excel. As a reminder, the files that I've used as an example here can be downloaded from the video description, as well as a helpful PDF. If you have any questions, please comment below and I'll help you out where I can. Thanks for watching.